My name is Patrick Holland. I am the Director of Factual Programmes at Ricochet Television, and I've been exec producing, working with Daisy for the last few years on My New Home. I'll just introduce the rest of the who we've got here today. Next to me is Aisha Raphael, who is Commissioning Editor at Channel 4. Daisy Asquith, the remarkable filmmaker who's made these brilliant 3 films. And then we have Altnay, who you'll see some more of as the clips come through, who Altnay, Marshal and Imran, who Imran is stuck on a train between Doncaster and Sheffield at the moment.
Without a ticket.
His mum hasn't got a ticket. Somehow she's managed to, Daisy rang him and he was supposed to be coming on his own, and he said that somehow his mum managed to get on the train at the same time as him without a ticket. So we wondered whether they forgot the waving goodbye bit, and she happened to still be on the train. But anyway, so Imran should be here soon, and there's Marshal. So I don't know if you are aware that My New Home started off 6 years ago, and it started life. I mean, Aisha, can you tell us a bit about how did it start life at Channel 4?
So I started at Channel 4 3 years ago, and this series was already in existence, therefore was commissioned by Danny Cohen when he was either a commissioning editor or head of docs at Channel 4. And obviously at the time, he must have really felt passionate about it. I remember seeing posters at the time when it first went out that were really lovely of some of Imran, I can't remember of you two, but looking very little in a very big suit and adjusting to life in a new country, and there were big posters and everything everywhere. The idea of it, I think Danny's original idea was how long does it take for somebody who comes to this country, doesn't speak a word of English, doesn't know the culture, doesn't know anything about it, how long does it take them to effectively become British? And so it's been quite a fascinating process. It's been filming now for 6 years. Daisy does, in fact, meet them at the airport, almost all 3. None of them did speak a word of English, and it's been literally amazing to see their transformation into what they are now, sort of young British teens from what they were. So the original idea was that there'd be 5 programmes, and they'd go out, 1 programme would go out each year, following them per year. But actually, 2 programmes were made, and then we held 3 back, and they'll be going out hopefully later this year. They're finished. Daisy's been working very hard on them. They're fantastic, really good. And what Daisy's done is she's incorporated the period right from the age of 11 through to 16. And as you'll see in the clips, it's quite gobsmacking to see someone literally grow up in front of your eyes. So an important project for Channel 4 for that reason.
Daisy, do you just want to tell us a bit about how you first came across the children as they were then?
Yes, well, it was very difficult to find children who hadn't arrived in Britain yet, for obvious reasons. But all 3 of them actually had their parents here. In fact, that's what we did, was find the parents whose children were coming to join them, all for different reasons. Imran's mother had had a second marriage to a British Pakistani guy and moved over, and it had taken her a very long time to get a visa for Imran to join her, which is obviously very painful for her. And so I was able to kind of get to know her a little bit before he arrived, and go and meet him at the airport, which obviously at the time I thought, what on earth is he going to think when he, it's strange enough to probably land at Heathrow when you've never left your village before, but to have me sticking a camera in his face, but he took it really well. I think I was just part of the surreal experience for him. And Altnay was also separated from her mum for a year, and before she came over, and so I was able to meet her at the airport as well. If you can tell us what that was like. And Marshal had just arrived. I think you'd been here a couple of weeks when we met, hadn't you?
Yeah.
And was just about to start school. So they all took to me in a very accepting when, I think partly because everything was so new, that actually to tack me onto that wasn't such a huge, it didn't add much to as I say, how surreal it was to come here. We had to invent some interesting ways of communicating because of the language barrier. Although I did try and learn Urdu, I was utterly hopeless. It just made them laugh at me, really, with my little phrase book. So we drew pictures for each other, and Altnay and I drew pictures of our homes and our families and kind of communicated in that way for a few months. Altnay actually learnt English incredibly quickly. And Marshal had a little already, didn't you? Although his accent has gone from from Zimbabwe to Newcastle rapidly and dramatically. Is that what you wanted?
Yes, that's very good. So what we'll do today is that we are going to show you some clips of from across the three films. So as Aisha and Daisy have said, that there are 3 films now, and they follow the whole chronological story from 2005 we started to the present. Film 1 is very much the sort of arrival, but we're seeing, you see the some of the material that was already transmitted, as Aisha said, that in those original films that went out in 2006 and 2007, some of the material from that is incorporated in the final series as a whole, so it becomes a sort of archive for the series as a whole. So what we're going to do is show you some clips and then explore some of the different issues that come up through those clips and talk to Altnay and Marshal more about their own experiences of obviously their lives growing up in Britain and all of the different issues that have come up as a result of that for them. But then also explore, I think it's brilliant to have contributors, here to be able to talk to us about their experiences of making a project like this. And so it'll be great to get a sense from them just how they felt having Daisy following them around for the last 6 years. So could we have the first clip, please?
5 years ago, I met and started filming 3 children from 3 different countries as they arrived to start their new lives in Britain. Marshal came from Zimbabwe and moved to Newcastle.
On my first day, this is brilliant. I want to be a normal man. I'm going to mess up.
Altnay was from Kyrgyzstan and now lives in Yorkshire.
I want to be a rock chick.
He said, "What's your problem?" And he goes, "It's you."
It's different for you because you were born here. You feel like you belong here.
Imran grew up in Pakistan. Peterborough is his new home.
Like, nice car. Not like.
I want all the world, world, Muslim. Peterborough, that's what they call Peterborough.
I filmed with them regularly from the moment they stepped off the plane until their 16th birthdays, seeing them turn into adults in front of my eyes. How would they adapt to growing up in an alien culture with its different language?
Now you will learn English.
And strange customs.
Now, here's a little present you can have for Christmas. That's a before Christmas present.
And over the 5 years, how long would it take them to feel like they belonged here?
Pakistan, Pakistan.
Would they ever feel truly British? Or would the pull of their home countries be too much to resist?
Feels just like I'm at home again.
In this first film, the children experience all things British for the first time before they can speak a word of English.
She can't understand English.
We're with them on their first days at school.
My name is Mrs. Ahmed. I speak English.
Where they meet the children who could help make or break their new lives in Britain.
I thought he was like a quiet person, but I found out that he wasn't. Not everyone likes him, but most of them like him here because we're not like picky or anything.
Me pray Allah, I said, me go Pakistan.
Imran is 16 and lives with his mum and stepdad in a small terraced house in a Muslim area in Peterborough. He looks like any British Asian teenager, but in fact Imran was born in Pakistan and has only been in Britain for 5 years. I first met Imran at Heathrow Airport when he'd just got off the plane from Pakistan. It had taken him 5 years to get a visa to join his mum, who'd moved to Britain to live with her new British Muslim husband.
I was very excited what's going to happen next. A new world, innit? It was very new to me. When I first came here, people were different. The streets were different. Pakistan is a very warm country, and here is a bit cold and stuff.
My happy, my boy. Nice. This one.
Imran had never left his village in Pakistan before. He couldn't speak a word of English. But his stepdad had been in Peterborough over 40 years, so Imran became part of his extended family in the area. Imran's parents never learnt to read or write, and his mum spoke no English. His stepdad was working night shifts at a local factory, so they were keen for Imran to get a good education. But at the time, Imran was blissfully unaware of their expectations.
Wow. Look at that.
I thought it was really funny, and the author is just funny. Everything is funny here, and I was smiling 24 hours.
Altnay, Imran's not here with us yet.
He's
but
just got here. He's
has
coming,
he?
yeah.
Oh, brilliant. All right, we'll see him in a minute. But what was it like for you when you first arrived and you were met at the airport by Daisy? Can you tell us what it felt like?
I remember this just woman, because I didn't know you at the time. I was just oh, hello, I was little, so she seemed really tall, and I didn't notice. I don't know. I don't know. It was weird, obviously, but I didn't notice the camera because it was proper down below. I was oh, but.
Had you ever been filmed before that, at home?
No. Cameras weren't in the face, but she did kind of. I don't know what's it called. You know when you can't when it's not right in your face,
How had your mum explained to you that there was going to be somebody filming you? Because when I watched that, I think, God, how amazing to have stepped off a plane effectively, and then there's someone filming your life for the next 5 years. How did your mum?
My mum told me before even she signed anything, she asked me first, obviously. And I was yeah, obviously I want to be on telly, but I didn't think of the reality of it, how it's going to be done and everything. But yeah, I'm here now, so.
You've had moments of wishing it would go away,
yeah,
I think, haven't you? You've sort of come through that now.
We can get onto some of those issues a bit later. Marshal, what was it like for you when you, because you'd already been here for a week or so, hadn't you, by the time you met Daisy?
Yeah. Well, I knew it was coming because I got told then, but it wasn't what I thought what it was going to be when I came. So I was expecting something different. So thought it was different.
Do you mean the filming or the country?
The country.
The country.
The filming was like, had good parts and bad times, and it's good.
And so you hadn't seen your mum for 5 years, Marshal. Yeah. So what was your situation in Zimbabwe, and how was it that you managed to come and get reunited with her?
Well, I was getting looked after by my auntie and big sister, because she was still there when I was there. Then they had to sort out the passport and stuff. Then something went wrong. Then we had to do it again. Then eventually did it and came.
And what did it feel like when you to be? Can you remember what it was like as that little boy getting to see your mum for the first time after those 5 years?
Well, the way I remember it was like, she just, as soon as I came through the doors, she just came running to me. So I had that feeling to run back. And just like some random ladies coming after that. Then I realized it was my mom. Then hugs and stuff. Then, but.
And what did you both think of? I mean, maybe we should play the next clip before we. Tell us what you thought that Britain was going to be like, and then we'll see the next clip.
Yeah, like, you know, you see on telly, like R&B videos and that, like you see like proper like massive houses, mansions and that. My brain was like little then, so I thought it was like that, but obviously not. But yeah,
it was a bit disappointing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Kind
of. And how about you, Marshal?
Well, thought the same thing. Then wasn't the way I expected it.
Can we?
Just one thing I would add to that, because at that time, obviously, you know, the decision to take part in My New Home for all the families hadn't really been made, because they couldn't really commit to something they didn't understand what it was, and because of the language barriers, and it took a long time to actually get meaningful permission for what we were doing, and it wasn't a case of you're signed up to this from the beginning. I would say it took a year actually to establish really meaningful permission that they, by the time we'd shown them some of what I was doing, and they knew me really well, we were then in a position to kind of make that agreement concrete. I think that's really vital, because without that you don't have proper trust. You just have a piece of paper which is actually worthless if people don't really know what it is that they've signed.
There's also the issue. Yeah, there's also the issue, isn't there, of filming with children who, in terms of their consent and their parents giving consent for them to film, especially children who are arriving maybe not speaking the language of the country. That the issue of the sort of ongoing consent is something that I think we should explore as well as we sort of go through.
It also took considerable bravery, actually, from Channel 4, the lawyers at Channel 4, which was Prash at that time, to just say, let's be cool and wait and make sure that what we have is really good consent and really good trust. And so that was brilliant. There was no pressure on that. It was quite risky. Any one of them could have decided to just ditch me. At any point, actually, yeah. And still could now.
And may well do after this session. Yeah. So could we have the second clip? It's this is it's what Marshal's just been talking about, their first reactions to life in the UK.
When you came out, did you remember your mum?
Not really. I couldn't remember. I asked my mom called Marshal. Then I went run. Then I was running for my mom. Then my mom was running. Then Misha was running away. She was too shy. So I was going running away.
When I got off the plane, just saw my mom running towards me. For a second, I wanted to run back, but I didn't actually know what she looked like then. So that when I came here, I didn't recognize her at all. Felt like I wanted to hug her, right? But I was like, should I or should I not? So I was scared. Then I just recognized the voice. So she was like, oh, my baby. And I was like, oh, well, that's my mom.
When you come to here, you will see how peer pressure can influence people to do anything. Even older people can do graffiti. This country is a little bit scary as far as kids are concerned. Because most kids who came like from Africa, when they were well-behaved, good manners, now you can find them, they are doing drugs, they are doing gangs, they are doing loads of things.
Oh, God. It's not what I thought it was. Like, when I was in Zimbabwe, I dreamt like, it's like New York City. It's like the shops and all this. Felt like when I get there, I'm gonna be rich. I was like, oh God, this is not the thing which I used to see in my dreams. So I was like, oh, I just felt like disappointed, then again, happy to be safe, you know.
How, at that stage, how did you feel in terms of the, I mean, in your first year in the UK, how were you both feeling about your home countries? I mean, did it feel like a permanent thing that had happened? Did it feel like there was, did you ever feel like you wanted to return?
Like, sometimes I did. I felt like going back that, because some bad stuff happened, then just had to stay for this.
And how about you, Altnay? Because there's a very powerful scene in the film where Altnay's at a primary school, and you may remember it if anyone saw the first film when it went out, and she's absolutely crowded. She just becomes this sort of focal point of the school playground where everyone is just round her like bees round, you know, the honey pot, and they're just, and you just completely, I mean, you just couldn't understand what anyone was saying, could you? I mean, what was the first year in the UK like?
I don't know, it was like, I was happy, because I was like an alien in the world, like, I didn't know anything, and like, everything seemed like, I don't know, like decent, so, and I didn't understand anyone then, so I was just like relying on my mum to translate everything, but, yeah.
And Daisy, you mentioned a bit before about how you were communicating, especially with Altnay and Imran. How did you film with them? How did you get anything?
Well, we didn't get much. We just took a very, very long time. We spent a lot of time together. Lots of jokes, because possibly not very sophisticated jokes. And, I mean, for example, Imran used to try and make me play cricket with him. Which was about as bad as I was at Urdu. But, there was we just spent an awful lot of time together, and I was just walking around with them and being at school with them and, maybe getting, a few minutes of interesting material a week on the camera is how we did it. And hand signals, winking. Drawings, as I said.
How often did you, when you're doing a project like this, in terms of deciding how many days or weeks or months you're dedicating, how often were you visiting? Because they're all three in quite disparate parts of England, aren't they?
Yes, well, it's been kind of, relative to what's happening in their lives, really. So sometimes it's twice a week, and sometimes it's not for a month, and, I've just tried to kind of respond. And sometimes it's been really important to just actually leave them alone and not be annoying. Hi, Imran. and, you know, and to sort of sense when actually they need a break from it, and that's at times benefited them and the film, having a little break. So I think at the beginning I saw Imran every day for a week, and then once a week for 6 months, and then once every 2 weeks, and in the middle it kind of spread out a bit, and then it's sort of, I think on average it's been every month that I might go up and see them. Yeah.
And when you were talking about what are the significant things that you, and especially in the first film, you know, the first year, what were the significant things that you just thought, I've got to capture that? What are the moments that you just thought those are essential sort of rites of passage in terms of how one adapts to a life in a new country?
Well, I mean, the obvious one is the first day at school, which was just so fantastically daunting. And actually the 3 schools were all completely different. There was nothing to be learnt from doing it once at one school. And I just think I just tried to see Britain through their eyes at the beginning, because it was such an unusual view of Britain, actually, that, for example, Altnay was signed up to brownies by someone who's, you know, really wanted to help her to integrate. And when I went to brownies that night, I thought, my God, it's weird here. You know, there's all these little girls skipping round toadstools in yellow jumpers and singing and baking, and there's a sort of strange, there's a sort of slightly religious tone to it, which it was all very, very confusing, the messages that night. And I thought that was quite a good example. Another one's Imran's visit to Santa in the shopping centre, which is so totally surreal, really. And you look at your own country and your neighbours in a different way. I thought that was very funny and fascinating.
Hi, Imran.
Hi.
How was the train?
Was that right?
Good.
Is your mum here?
Yes.
She's there.
Hi, Sarah.
Well, should we have another clip? Obviously, the intention of the series from the beginning was to chart the lives of children as they grow up, but obviously confront all of the different issues that a new immigrant might face when they arrive in a new country. And so there were, as well as the sort of internal sort of journey that they were going on in terms of how they were feeling about life at home, you know, the pull of countries that they'd come from. The next clip sort of explores just how they were, their host new country was sort of responding to them. So could we have the next clip, please?
In South Yorkshire, the atmosphere for Altnay and her mum had been poisoned by the BNP, who had a stand every Saturday in the town centre.
Sometimes when I'm down these days and I have to pass this table, you can feel like cold coming from this table. It's just my feelings like this. I just want to pass very quick, and I'm scared to look at these people. I'm very scared of this BNP, because if they speak at home, can you imagine, like, oh, these immigrants, they make their children be racist as well.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Altnay. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Make a wish. Got to make a wish before you blow them out. Have you thought of one? Just thinking one for every candle.
Yeah. Do you think she's still different to you?
Kind. You fit in really well. I thought she was Chinese. At first, when I moved from, I thought they were sisters.
Did you?
Because Not from Altnay. That's not a bad thing. I don't understand how they think me and Altnay look alike, but when me and Altnay look at them, and they've both got blonde hair, but they don't look anything alike because we can see that, so can't they see that we're different? I do know some people who are quite racist and stuff. I'm not going to name any names, but
Yeah.
obviously. Because people judge them by their accents and everything. They think that they're
Some
a bit
people.
fake.
Have you experienced any of that?
Yeah. Just sometimes. It's like 1 or 2.
They like do that, like, oh, there was this man who was Chinese, and then this guy, this woman who was Japanese, and they had a child that was like that.
When they do that, well, it's upset on that time, but I always, well, it's kind of, I always forget about it. I don't know why. At first, when you can just like ignore it, and it just builds up, and I guess it just like bottles up, and then you just like burst out. It's not fun. When I'm sad, I think of sad things, and then it makes it worse. I don't know why. I guess by ignoring it, it's just out of your way. But if there was no racism, let's just say, our world would be a better place.
So, Daisy, what was it? I mean, obviously, as there were still children, you're following children, and they're encountering, you know, that the world was not quite the place that they might have thought when they arrived. How was that in terms of your personal, you know, personally, in terms of your relationship with Altnay in this case?
Well, it was very difficult to get them to be honest with me about how difficult some of their experiences were, because I think, you know, paradoxically, the closer I got to them, the less they wanted to disappoint me or upset me with their personal problems. So I was kind of, you know, having to find out. And the beauty of this project is that we've had so long to make it that all the things they couldn't say at certain moments have been eventually said. Even if it's only as teenagers in the final interviews, you get that kind of level of insight that we couldn't get at the very beginning. So that's just been a brilliant opportunity to have that time. But I kind of tried not to freak out. I mean, I was really concerned about all of them at different times. That they've all had very, very difficult experiences with other children in Britain. And just to try and kind of both document it and help them to be resilient about it, and, you know, yeah, it's just been a difficult balance.
How difficult is it, Aisha, in terms of issues, and there's a clip that we'll show later, where the effects of sorts of racism that, you know, does lead to, you know, to the children just deciding to take some more drastic action. As a broadcaster, how, when you've got contributors in that vulnerable situation, what do you do in terms of you know, is being on a television programme about it a good thing for them? Is it?
I mean, I found it quite, having inherited this one, I found it quite fascinating series to inherit, because it's so powerful, some of the experiences that they've gone through, and especially Altnay and Altnay's mum, and in Barnsley, what was going on with the BNP. And I remember us all having a meeting about how upset Altnay was, and at one point they wanted to actually go back home, if home is still Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah. So I think better to tell that story than not. And I found it, I don't know on a personal whether Altnay feels this, but I found it quite powerful to see how rich, both when they came here, what they were feeling about the country and their expectations of it, and then finding hostility where you totally were not expecting to find it, must have been quite weird. But actually, I think they've come through it, and so it's all, I don't want to say it's one big celebration, but the truth of it is, it actually is ultimately a good story for all three of you, would you say?
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of courage, particularly for Altnay, to kind of allow me to tell the story of what she went through, because it was so difficult. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's a wonderful revenge, this film, because actually what it does is, and I don't think I ever really understood what it was like to be on the receiving end of racism until this happened. And I hope that watching the film, it gives you quite an intense emotional experience of how that feels. Which is something that most people in this country don't understand. You know, white people basically don't understand. And however liberal we are, we don't know what that feels like. So Altnay's courage, I'm extremely grateful for.
Did you all, when you had things that were going on, Daisy mentioned about, because you got so close with her over the years,
yeah.
And Daisy mentioned this sort of like that she felt like you didn't want to disappoint her by, you know, sort of like telling her that you might not be actually enjoying it here, or you might not be. Did you feel like you couldn't tell Daisy things, Imran, because of that, not wanting to let her down?
Did you find it hard to tell me things when things were difficult?
Sometimes.
And how about you, Marshal? Do you feel like what was your relationship with Daisy? Did you feel like you could tell her anything? Were you just like an open book with her, or how did you?
Don't know how to explain this, but it was hard, like telling her stuff most of the times, but got used to it then. We're like best friends.
One of the weird things, because we see you from the age of 11 right through to 16, the ages you are now, it's really weird just watching. When you're watching it must be even stranger for Daisy. It does feel like, I've got a child who's just turned 10, it's like weirdly that they feel like your children, all three, which must be kind of weird for you, but because it's like your home movies. Did you ever think that someone's filming me and it's going to go on telly and I need to do something because I'm being filmed?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
I don't think they would have been bothered to do that.
No.
I was there too much. It would have been exhausting.
Yeah. Can we have the next clip? Obviously, over the last 5 years, the world has changed. Quite a lot, quite considerably. And I think that for Imran's experience growing up in Peterborough, and we were filming all the way, the time of the 7/7 attacks, and the sort of a lot of suddenly the whole nation sort of like focusing on the Muslim community. So can we have the look at the next clip, please?
After a year in Britain, Imran was becoming increasingly lonely and isolated. He was struggling to fit in with the local Pakistani kids, even his own cousins.
He is quite embarrassing. I don't like going out with him. I went out with him yesterday to get a couple of stuff, and he was running around and singing and that. That's quite embarrassing.
He doesn't like the culture of England. He's born there.
Here they more, mature and eyes down there.
And he's
because down there it's kind of different in Pakistan.
He likes Pakistan more than England. I know why, because he used to do anything what he wants in Pakistan, and here he can't do something. Like here, you have to go to school.
The Muslim kids at his school were all born in Britain and saw Imran as an outsider.
He dresses a bit like Pakistani style.
What, Imran's clothes are different?
Yeah. Well, the same clothes, but we dress more like British, and he dresses like Pakistani.
Do you think he should dress like you?
Yeah. Yeah, because we are in actual Britain, aren't we? So we're British Muslims.
His mum tried to get him to dress more Western, but he refused.
I said, why? Because I'm Muslim.
You don't want to change?
No, leave this. All time this me.
Imran had been so bullied in his area that after 18 months he was scared to go out in the street by himself. Eventually he stopped going out at all and took refuge in his religion.
I was very scared to go out and to in streets, to go town, to go mosque, because the boys used to hit me, tease me, and calling me names. They were all Pakistani, stupid boys. I wanted my grandma to be with me here in England. That's what I wanted. Obviously, I lived with her all my life, and you miss that person.
Do you think you'll ever be able to go back to Pakistan?
When? Mom said 10. Mom said 2010. 2000 no come. 8 no come. 8 no come now. 8 no come.
2008's not going to come?
I know. Look, Muslim what doing? Pakistani what are doing now? Doing drug and this. And look, all country doing what?
So you think God's going to end the world?
Yes.
When?
Don't know now, tomorrow. Yes, good play.
After the cricket match, preferably.
So, Daisy, you were filming with Imran whilst there was a lot of, attention on the community there, where, across the UK. What happened? Tell us what Imran's experience was in Peterborough over those years, and how he sort of responded to it.
Well, interestingly, all that stuff was in my head, but not really in his. Because Imran lives in a very strong, tight Muslim community in Peterborough, would you say? Yeah. There's a mosque at the end of his street. Most of the people in the streets around him are Pakistani, and they, whether Imran watches the 6 o'clock news, you have your own kind of culture within Britain. I think that all that stuff was probably not that high in his head. It was quite difficult to get him to think about it or comment on it, and in a way, that was probably a good thing, because he wasn't kind of being stressed by it. But as he said, a lot of his problems were with the local kids who were kind of very cool, British-born Pakistani lads who were teasing him. But I think the atmosphere was very tense for that community, and some of the parents were being seriously pressured to, kind of police their children and their children's religious beliefs were being confused with politics. So
I think the thing that struck me in that clip was that how little the world can take difference, and so the people, even Imran's clothing for the Pakistani children who are brought up in this country is alienating, and you're like, wow, it's sort of the truth of it is that all kids. It's true about all kids, not even white kids were picking on you. It was actually other Pakistani kids, just because you were dressing a little bit different, a little bit more traditional. Yes. It's shocking, really, isn't it?
Like English boys, they liked me because I was funny and that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Your humour got you through.
Got a long way on your sense of humour, haven't you?
Yeah.
And how, Daisy, when you were thinking about the films, how big, you know, your great strength as a filmmaker is that the intimate relationships that you build with your contributors. How important is the bigger global picture or national picture? Because obviously the stories that you're following are resonating with these massive issues.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, as I say, it's constantly in my head if it's not in theirs. Yeah, I think, you know, that whether, you know, what it's like to move to another country at this time is fascinating, and whether we can accept other cultures, and it needs to be a kind of multicultural society or an intercultural society, preferably. You know, those are the most interesting challenges that we have at the moment. So obviously, all the time I was thinking, my God, this is a great opportunity. But at the same time, you don't want to kind of swamp the child's perspective in that and force them to speak to that. So we've kind of had to try and have both all along, I think.
And were you ever scared?
Also,
Sorry.
Everyone's experiences were so different, because each of the areas you ended up living in, Altnay is in a very, I would say, quite white area, and Imran's in a very Pakistani area. Marshal is in Newcastle, and there's a sort of mixture of, I mean, there's quite a lot of white working class, obviously, but a mixed community. So actually, all of the experiences are quite specific to the place you randomly kind of ended up as well. It's probably very different being brought up in Barnsley than in Peterborough.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Yes. I guess it's hard for you to comment on that because you only know your own areas.
Yeah,
when you look at the films, do you get a sense of that? How it's been different from Marshal?
Yeah.
To you?
Yeah, kind of. It would have been easier down south, I think.
Do you?
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
Because there's like more multicultural people or whatever. So like you know, if you're on the street or somewhere walking, people won't have to like turn and look twice at you. Just like
you won't stand out.
Yeah,
as
like
much.
It's just like just blend in the background. Yeah.
I mean, what was also really telling about that clip was that for Imran, because he was in a community where he was similar to everyone else, but was the odd one out, that it was quite hard, I think, for you to make friends with those lads, wasn't it? Whereas, can Altnay and Marshal just tell us about how important your friends were? Because you're quite lucky. I mean, you were both fortunate to make very close friends very quickly, weren't you?
Yeah, I made like a best friend since seven, and I'm still like best friends with her now. So she's been here through like the time of being here in England, so she knows like what it's been like for me, like everything. So I guess she's kind of been in my shoes, like, cause she's seen it from an alternative view, like. But yeah, Marshal.
And tell us about Carl Marshal.
Well, he's been there since like I started Collingwood. Basically, like he came up then, made friends, still friends now in high school, and hopefully it stays that way.
Carl's very funny because he says that it's much harder being ginger than being black. Marshall's like hugely popular at school, and Carl's a bit kind of
on the edge.
so bloody cool all the time. So it's quite an interesting relationship. Actually, Imran's got really close friends at the mosque, haven't you? He's kind of a pillar of the Muslim community now, partly because of his amazing singing voice, which they appreciate. He sings in the mosque regularly. Have you done that? Did you do it last night?
Last night.
I saw a picture on your Facebook wall.
No, that was a couple of months ago.
Oh, was it? Oh, I'm out of touch.
So what was 3 years in now into you being in the UK? I think Altnay, your mum, and Marshal's mum was your mum was studying for the citizenship test, wasn't she?
Which one?
Well, your mum actually did the citizenship test. Marshal's mum was studying for it. How can you remember what it was like then, and how you started feeling about yourselves then? Were you starting to feel British? Were you starting to feel more like you could understand why your parents were wanting to actually officially become Brits. Did you feel British then?
No, not really. I don't get how you can feel British. I don't get it. It's like, what? You just...
What is that?
Yeah, you just are who you are, right? You just grow up, I guess. It's not like, yeah, like where you live, it affects you a bit, the way you are a bit, but it's not like it changes you as a whole person. So...
I think that's really key because it's kind of an academic concept, isn't it? You know, being British or, you know, integrating. It's kind of a bit surreal when you're in it. That doesn't happen. It's just someone else talking in a university somewhere. You know, it's kind of, you're just yourself.
And what about you, Imran? Did you feel... I mean, when you went back for your, to Pakistan, for your, I mean, we'll show this clip next, but Imran at this point returns to Pakistan after his grandmother has passed away. And when you're over there, you meet your fiancé. Is that the way who... tell us about the story of your arranged marriage and how that... well, Daisy, you tell us about how that came about, that you found out about that.
Yeah, Imran, I can't remember which clip. I think it's when we're going back to Pakistan
in
the next clip, aren't we? Yeah. Yeah, so Imran told me that he was engaged to his cousin when he was about 13. He'd already known, but he just hadn't, it hadn't come up really, had it, until then. So I was quite surprised. But, you know, we got, you know, and actually his attitude towards that fact has changed quite a lot, and I've just tried to adapt to what his current attitudes were to it. And I think by the time we went over to Pakistan, unfortunately Imran's grandmother died in Pakistan before he could go back and see her, so the trip was for that reason. But you know, they had a ceremony while they were over there, didn't you? Like a kind of engagement ceremony over there, and it's made Imran extremely happy. I think that's the main undeniable observation that I could make. Yeah.
Well, should we show the next clip?
Yeah. In Pakistan, Imran's family had spent a month mourning his beloved grandma and turned their attention to arranging his marriage to his cousin, Abda.
Me and my grandma and Abda, we lived together. And my grandma wanted me to get married with her.
इमरान कुछ नहीं बता सकता जो कुछ करना है माँ बाप के नहीं करने
The wedding's set for 2 years' time when Imran is 16, the minimum legal age for marriage in Britain.
इमरान आगे सटो ना पढ़ाई खत्म करके शादी उधर दी कानून ही ऐसे खत्म करके तां ही शादी करनी
I know what people think. People here, English people, they think marrying your cousin is no good because it's your own blood in it. Like, in Pakistan, it's different, in it. It was my own wish as well. We have same wishes, so even I wanted to help as well.
Once they're married, Abda will join Imran in Britain. Altnay's mum had put down strong roots in Britain with a British husband and new baby daughter, Amelia. She passed the British citizenship test and they were all invited to a ceremony at Barnsley Town Hall.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Barnsley's Town Hall. There are over 30 different nationalities living and speaking over 40 different languages, including Chinese, Urdu, Punjab, Russian and Albanian, and that's in Barnsley.
Citizenship entitles a person to a British passport, benefits and the right to work full-time.
Congratulations to you all on attaining British nationality, and I hope you continue to make a major contribution to our communities in Barnsley.
That is my book for the citizenship test.
Marshal's mum was still revising for her test.
Who is the head of the Church of England today?
The head of the church... the Archbishop of Canterbury.
No, the Queen! Right, how many MPs make up the cabinet?
A, B, C, D.
12?
No, 20!
I will give my loyalty.
I will give my loyalty
To the United Kingdom. And respect its rights and freedoms. I will uphold its democratic values.
When was the Welsh Assembly established?
I don't know.
1999. God. What is the second largest party in the House of Commons referred to as?
The opposition.
Good.
Altnay,
Well, I don't feel British.
Don't you? Okay, then tell me about that.
I think Amelia will feel British. I don't know if my mum feels British. How can you feel British? You are who you are, right?
Hopefully my humiliation serves a purpose.
Yeah, who actually can answer any of those questions?
So in terms of the citizenship test and all of that, how important was? I mean, did you see that as a significant moment for the families?
Yeah, I mean, it is significant. Yeah, I mean, it's not really possible to have the full rights that are available in this country without it. It's extremely expensive to take the citizenship test. If you have kind of revision lessons, it's even more expensive. If you fail, it's obviously doubly expensive. If you fail 3 times, that's it. You can't take it again. So it's fantastically stressful. I mean, I'm talking like £800 or something it costs, which is really, obviously really significant if that's, month's wages or something. And I failed it like miserably. I thought that was really quite disturbing, actually. And also, whether the information that you're required to learn for that test is in any way useful is debatable. So yeah, it was interesting, and it has been stressful for all the families. And it's not resolved either for all the families. So it's very difficult. Yeah.
Did you ever think, Altnay, that as you were growing up, did you ever think, oh, this might be temporary and we might be going home soon, we might be going back to Kyrgyzstan? And did, you know, when Amelia was born and when the citizenship test, your mum did the citizenship test, what was going on in your own mind?
Like, when I went back, the first one, I think it was the first one, I was like, I asked my mum if I could stay. It's like, oh, can I stay there? You can just go back on your own. Because, like, obviously my family's there, and obviously I'm closer to them. Where, like, here I've only got my mum and my sister now, but I'm a stepdad. But I don't know. Yeah, kind of like, I thought I was going back, but obviously not.
I think you've had a few times where you thought you might just go back.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a constant question mark hanging over Altnay's head.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting the age that you come to a country, obviously, because you're asking about feeling British. I was born in Pakistan, and we came here when I was 4, and I definitely think of England as my home, and I can't actually ever imagine returning to Pakistan. Whereas I think if you're 11 and you come here, and you're speaking an entirely another language, and English is something you actually remember having to learn. Obviously, you all must have a strong sense of when you actually had to learn this other language. Yeah. It must always be that you're at one remove from the sort of host country, I think. So probably all of you could imagine possibly going back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you, Imran? Would you like to live in Pakistan?
Not for long.
Not for long. Just for a month.
Just for a month or 2 months.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, Imran's always said that it's part of it. It's not just part of him. It's like another, you know, I mean, I spend a lot of time in Ireland and a lot of time in Brighton, and, you know, I guess it's possible to kind of feel like you have affiliations to different places, and you all do, don't you? And yeah. Marshal went back, we went back to Zambia. Well, we went to the border of Zimbabwe to see his family last year. And it was fantastic to see Marshal be so at home, because I always thought he was such a great Geordie. So, and it's really, I guess if we could all afford it, we'd all zip around, go to all sorts. Altnay's always said her ideal would be to kind of be a global citizen, a year in New York, maybe a year in Paris,
a few months in Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah.
And for you, Imran, when you went back to Pakistan, if you see all 3 films, there's this moment when Imran, who's been very, it feels like he's been very, sort of like stuck in his house and not wanting to go out and sort of quite fearful of the world outside. And then the moment when you go over to, for your grandma's, after your grandma's died, and come back having met Abda again, who you're going to, you'll be married to. You suddenly came back and you were a changed man. You suddenly seemed like you'd grown 5 years, that you were sort of, can you tell us little bit of what had happened in your own mind?
Yeah, it was the situation in Pakistan and obviously my grandma as well. So that's how I changed.
Did you feel more confident in yourself? Did you feel, could you recognise that something had massively changed with you?
Yep. I lost a big part of my life. My grandma, I didn't see her as well, like 3 years. So she passed away before I went.
And you came back with an awful lot of responsibility as well, didn't you? For the family, because I think Imran's grandma dying and him taking on, the role of, being engaged to his cousin meant that he was going to actually support her side of the family as well as his own. And I think you've really kind of risen to that challenge, and that you like the responsibility, don't you?
Yeah. And also the religious, going to mosque and that as well.
Islam's helped you a lot.
Yeah. Everything basically.
Yeah. I mean, me and Imran have had a lot of set twos about whether or not, 16 is a good age to get married or how much it's his choice. I mean, we haven't kind of shied away from that. We've always argued about it and had confrontations about those kind of decisions. And those are all in the series, although we didn't show that clip. But, Imran's become so mature and so confident compared to when he first arrived, that it's kind of hard to argue with that.
The pressure on you to sort of to be the provider, though. I mean, that's the subject of the next clip. So perhaps we could watch that, please.
When Imran arrived in Peterborough 4 years ago, he had to learn the English alphabet from scratch. Now he's 15 and has just got the results of his mock GCSEs. His entire family back in Pakistan are depending on him doing well.
Help my auntie, my sister. Me no help. Me no money.
What job do you want him to get, Masara?
Very good job. Nice job. Very good money.
Grade F. Maths normal English. No usual maths. Predicted grade autumn E. Grade E. F and final target. My target is F. Science pass.
मैं अपना पढ़सी दा काम ऐसी जिंदगी बनसी ना चलते ना भाई
ओए छोड़ो ये कोनी कांड आने जेरे इस साल ने सुनो कांड
very good number record very good record होना चाहिए very good जी
So does she understand what F means?
No. I fail in it.
Very good.
Very good. Happy my boy. Happy my boy.
Well done.
I'm trying to work hard in school, but sometimes I just don't like working hard, just boring. And sometimes I feel I have to do this. This is my responsibility, and I need to do this.
And so the pressure on one of the things that comes across from that clip is this. It's almost like that you're protecting your parents from, or you're protecting your mum from what's really what's really going on. How much did you feel that that you needed to be the sort of the grown up and to be able to be almost protecting your mum from what was happening?
Did
She's
you,
in the audience.
Yeah. Do you feel protective of your mum? Like you didn't want to tell her, if things weren't going too well?
Yeah.
I think, maybe you could, because, at the end of the day, because Imran's English is so good, and Masara would be the first to say that hers is not. He has a lot more power than most teenagers have because of that, and also a lot more responsibility because it's Imran's responsibility to deal with things like bills and other correspondence and to organise their lives in English, which is something that most teenagers would never have to deal with. Is that right?
True.
How do you deal with all that responsibility? I guess you're used to it, aren't you?
Yeah, I really do.
And Daisy, as all three were coming to their GCSEs, and and the sort of more pressure of school, and how did you feel that you were sort of privy to what they were going through when their mums might not be? How did you feel that you were in that situation where they might have been confiding in you?
Yeah. Well, that's something that's kind of had to adapt with what age that they are at any given moment. I mean, when they were very little, you know, obviously I had quite good relationships with the mums that were different to my relationships with the kids. But now it's kind of altered again, really, because you know, I think there are some things that they should be allowed to say in confidence if they want that, and so you know, I've kind of said to all the mums, I wouldn't necessarily tell you. It's difficult actually, but you know, it's like having a relationship with a friend's teenager. They kind of know that, you know, to have a meaningful relationship, that mums know that for me to have a meaningful relationship with their kids, there needs to be like the possibility that I wouldn't tell everything. And they've really been good about accepting that, luckily.
And how have you all felt when there's stuff that you've told Daisy that's then on that you might have told her in confidence, and then suddenly a year or 2 years later she comes and says, "Oh, I've got the cut of the film to show you, chaps," and you watch it and you go, "My God, you haven't put that bit in." Are there bits that have appeared in the final, because obviously they've seen all 3 programmes, are there bits that you've just said, no way, don't want that in?
A lot.
Oh, yes, there were. They've been editing it all along, 5 years by text message. Don't put that in, don't put that in, don't put that. And I've just sort of consistently said, we're going to decide at the end. And, you know, obviously they all knew that they would get to see the film before anyone else. Yeah. And that was the safety net, wasn't it? Yeah. And I thought that they would ask for a lot more changes than they did. So I was absolutely delighted when it was only tiny little things. And the tiny little things that I've done didn't damage the film at all. They're just personal things.
The next clip is something that, as Aisha was talking about earlier, is that was most probably, well, let's watch the clip, but it features Altnay.
She's in the press. She don't want to go to school. Some nasty children calling her his name.
Tell me what he said to you, Altnay.
Just like brat, brat, brat. He kept saying that. Like,
and what's brat?
British, proud and racist. And he just kicked the chair. Not at me, but just like, because I was putting the chairs down and he just like pushed it, so the teacher won't see it. The teacher didn't see it. So I pushed him back at him and I said, "What's your problem?" And then he goes, "It's you."
How long's this been going on?
Well, some people started saying it last year. Well, they didn't like say it all the time. They just said it, and when me and Kanika were in the room, we didn't get what it was, and then Kanika found out, but they kept saying it anyway.
I can't understand how they can be like this cruel. They're children as well. If the children do what their parents doing, they're speaking what their parents speaking at home. It's probably their parents like this. I saw in the news and Barnsley was voted 15% for being B, and it was very scary for me when the journalist just asked on the streets and just could stop anybody, and they were saying, I voted for racist, and they was very proud because I fed up of immigrants. To know why people think because they British, they like angels, or they like, I don't know what's better than another human. We have 2 eyes, we have head, we have hands as well. We're not aliens.
I'm not living benefits or something. I don't need the money. I'm thinking to leave now. I can't live here if my daughter is not unhappy.
I just want to get away.
So that was obviously a really very difficult time for Altnay and for her family. What, in terms of filming it, that's how did it come about that you were there filming after that had just happened?
Well, I mean, that's a good question because I just was there, and I don't know if, you know, this had been happening a lot and Altnay didn't want me to know, possibly. I think there's an element of that, and that, you know, on that day I was there anyway and it just couldn't be hidden. But also, you know, I mean, I think it's a good idea to kind of accept that the camera, in a way, the presence of the camera has, you know, that it gives you that space actually to think about those things rather than just keep your head down and grit your teeth. And so, you know, occasionally I think these things do come out when you're there and when the camera's there, and then that's just something to be dealt with as sensitively as possible. But that morning, the night before, literally the night before, we'd been to Altnay School to receive her award for outstanding achievement, which only about 4 kids in the year were, 4 teenagers in the year were presented with. And I thought that Altnay was on a high and that I'd come to film her fabulous achievements. And the next morning I said, I'm going to come around and walk you to school, and then I was going to go home, I think. And so that all happened at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was a complete surprise to me. I had no idea that underneath she was feeling like that. And of course I stayed for the rest of the week and we talked about it and thought about it. And so, you know, I think you just have to be kind of available and not, you can't plan what you're going to film. It's such a mistake to try.
And how is it seeing that on the screen now, Altnay? Is it?
Thing is that, like, it's how you say it and not what you say. Like some people just say brat, like just as like an expression, not meaning that at all. But the fact that he said it and then he told us what he meant by it, he told us to our face, like, that's what he means, and that's why I'm saying it. I was like, okay. So yeah, it's not like, because it sounds stupid right now. Cause,
it
like,
doesn't at all sound stupid or small.
But I'm over it, so. Yeah.
I think it's really great to hear you talk like that about it, because actually at the time Altnay was saying, I really don't want this to be my story, you know, I don't want this to be in the film, don't want this to be my story. And I really could understand that, because who wants to be the victim? It's like, that's not fun or cool, or, you know, it's just not great to have to be in that position. But you know, this is another reason it's been so brilliant to have so much time on this, because she's kind of so mature now and really gets the worth of that scene, that it's come back and we're allowed it and we're allowed to share it. I'm really proud of her for that.
Where do you all, because after that you thought about going back to Kyrgyzstan, didn't you, Altnay? Where do you all see yourselves now in 10 years' time? Where will you be? What do you want to be doing, and where will you be?
I want to open a business there, back in Bish, like have someone working for me and that. But I'll probably be in, like, I want to live in London for a bit, and then I want to move to US, but I don't know. Or I might just move back, I don't know.
And what would you like to do? What would you like to be doing there?
Open like a clothes shop or something.
How about you, Marshal? Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? 26, Marshal. Where are you?
opened my own dance school, then moved to America, and
Why does everyone want to
Yeah,
go
why do you want to go to America?
It's shit
there as
well. Because that's what we saw it as like, so we want to see it.
Yeah, it's not like a P. Diddy video, though. It's not.
It's just as rubbish as here.
yeah, but when you're seeing it on TV, it seems much better.
The lies we tell.
Rather go and check
What
it
does
out.
that say about telly?
You guys should know that that's a lie.
I wouldn't go to America. I'll stay here.
Great.
Peterborough rocks.
And what will your life be like in Peterborough then? So you'll be 26. Would you still stay in Peterborough or not?
Not
Would
for
you?
you.
I don't know. Let's just show the last clip, and then we'll. There's time for questions if anyone has any.
Tonight, his mum has come to Parents' Evening with a mission. She wants to make sure he gets a chance to do what he's really good at.
No. To do dancing. I don't want to do dancing. I don't want to, whatever. Dancing is for girls.
What's the dance called? Breakdance?
No, I don't know. No, it's called art.
He is with the talent, so why not? I think the school is there to improve children's talents, what they know and what they've got. So that's why.
I don't want to be with those girls.
This school has kind of a segregation in the dancing.
Right.
Because the dancing that's there, it's only for girls. And because if Marshal is doing break dancing, he needs to do it with other boys of his age.
Yeah.
But they need to have a teacher or someone training them to do that.
Everybody clap your hands.
Having Marshal done his hair was one of the biggest things that I had to go through because it was sort of totally unacceptable in my culture to have a boy with his hair done. I had to make a compromise, adjust, and try to move with times. I think he's gonna be famous.
Books are not the only way you can get a job and all that. I want to see myself with a big house. And I'm like, this big person who's like, everyone respects that person. And have loads of money.
It seems like every single girl in that school hall fancies you, Marshal.
They do. I honestly could.
Really? Very, very popular young man. Has anyone got any questions? Has anyone got any questions that like to... Could you say who you are before...
Oh, hi, my name is Saba. I really enjoy watching this, and obviously having you here, you three, it's actually amazing, and I think for everyone it really adds to the experience. My question to you three is actually, what was it like to have a camera crew with you throughout all these years? Do you think it helped you going through all the things that you went through, or do you think it was kind of like a hindrance or something that it was just making it worse?
Well, I would say it made like stuff better than just being like by yourself. It would be harder, but made it much easier maybe. What do you think?
It's like, it wasn't like a whole camera crew, obviously. It was just her with like a little... like
it wasn't X Factor, it was Daisy with her camera.
So not glamorous.
No, it was just like a little cam, like, you know, when you go on holiday and you just film? Well, it wasn't like that small, but like, it was bigger, but you couldn't tell. But yeah.
It was low-key.
It was low-key, so... And I don't know, sometimes it helped. Like, we obviously get to go out and stuff and meet new people. But then, like, when you go into a new environment and then, like, kids especially, when they see a camera, they're like, ooh, we're going to be on telly, etc. So you get surrounded just because of that reason. But, yeah. Imran?
What you said.
How did the camera help you, though, or not? Sometimes you hated it, didn't you?
Yeah, beginning of it. When you used to like film me and I used to go away. Like, hide from you.
Yeah.
Did any of you ever think, I don't want to do this anymore? Do you ever think that this is just, you know, a real pain?
No, I never did. Because I had a lovely friend, Marshal.
Oh.
I would say that you all probably thought that at one point.
What?
That you just really wish you didn't have to do this sodding film.
No, at one point I did. I did. I was like, oh, that's annoying. Like, but no, it wasn't you. It was just the camera and like the attention you get. But I'm over it. It's over now. So it's all good. Yeah, we thought about it. We thought about it in when we watched it in London, and everyone was like, "Oh, you should do another one." But now, because we're so used to it, we want it, but I don't know. We'll see.
British Gone Talent.
Well, it would be absolutely fascinating to carry on, wouldn't it? And see you in several years' time and see what's happened to you all. And whether you moved to America and got the big house.
Welcome to my crib.
Only England.
Just here. Just wait for the...
When did you three meet for the first time? And do you ever sort of text each other and say, oh my God, how are you feeling about this? Or do you kind of... Are you friends now?
When did we meet?
London Eye, wasn't it?
I think you met after 1 year, didn't you? Because we all went to London and had a kind of screening.
I can't remember, but the first few times it was really awkward. We were just like that, like that. But now I just chilled.
Got used to it. And like friends.
Yeah, we do text.
Distance.
We do text.
They're pretty close, actually. Aren't you?
No.
We've got room for one more question. Anyone got one more question? There's one question that I was going to ask, Daisy, which is that you've obviously got an extraordinary relationship with all three. You can't say young people. You can't say young people these days. You've obviously got extremely close, built an amazing relationship with them. Do you ever feel, and this is a question that's always asked of you, but that you get so close that you can't then step back to actually tell the film, that you're too intimate?
Yeah, I mean, lots and lots of people said to me for years and years, where's your professional line? And I haven't got one. I've never had one. I don't want one. And that's the short answer. I think you can make a documentary and be a human being at the same time.
But do you ever feel that if you got so close that you wouldn't include things in a film because you feel that you're compromising your contributor in a way in which you, if you have one more step back, that you have got a greater sense of perspective about making those sorts of judgments?
Well, I think you have to keep the perspective all the time, not just come and get your perspective hat on in the edit. Because if you kind of act each day with the bigger picture in mind and with total honesty about what you're doing. I mean, the thing is about these guys is that they've always known what I was going to do with this material, because they understood from early on the way it would be cut and the way it would be presented. And some of the things that I might say in the commentary are things that we've already discussed. I've said them on the day or on, you know. So it's kind of just very, I think it's got to be transparent all the way along. There are no surprises then, you know.
It's also what I think the two things you've just mentioned there are the things that make Daisy a very, very talented and good filmmaker, that you can be intimate and close to your subjects, but at the same time, what makes Daisy a good filmmaker as opposed to just a good friend to people is that she sees the value of what she's getting. And I think, I mean this in a really nice way, but I think all good filmmakers have to have a slight core of steel somewhere in them that prevents, you know, you say there isn't a professional line, but actually there is one in the sense that, you know, the end point is that you're still trying to get the best story. So
yeah, I think the thing is that that doesn't, you know, I wouldn't behave towards my material differently in the edit, say. So when I'm with Imran I think, are you really ready to get married? I say to Imran, but Imran, are you really ready to get married? Rather than putting that idea into the commentary later when he's not
that's right.
And I think that's how you have to confront everything in the moment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you ever so much for coming, and thank you Imran and Marshal and Altnay and Daisy and Aisha. And My New Home will be on Channel 4 later this year. Thank you very much.